Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar today. We want to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all of you joining us today. As we embark on today's webinar journey, I have the privilege of introducing our esteemed speaker, Ms. Teva Muller. She is a licensed and a registered counselor, and Ms. Teva will be here to provide insights and address your questions as we delve into the discussions ahead. But before we begin, we'll have a short introductory video by Ms. Chloe. Ms. Chloe?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I think just now we already shared the video that through our campus. Is everyone saw our video? Hi. Is everyone can hear me? Hold on. I think
Everyone has said yes.
Yes, there are some technical issues here. Okay, one moment. While I'm opening, is everyone can hear me? Okay, I think I'll share the video. Hold on. Yeah. Come, let's see.
Welcome to EduMetro at Subang Jaya, the integrated metropolis of the future, where education meets innovation and students flourish in a dynamic, vibrant setting. EduMetro serves as the new pulse of Subang Jaya, where knowledge and creativity converge, fostering a dynamic learning environment. In Segi College Subang Jaya, we believe that learning extends beyond the confines of a classroom. And that's why we've built an ecosystem that's designed specifically with students in mind. Our cutting-edge, futuristic campus gives students access to the newest technology and a wide spectrum of digitalization in their daily learning experience. Our enhanced curriculum and new programs offer students the opportunity to push boundaries and make groundbreaking discoveries. From advanced laboratories to collaboration spaces, we provide the tools needed to turn ideas into reality. EduMetro at Subang Jaya offers a cityscape that's integrated with modern facilities tailored for students. From trendy cafes to local boutiques, there's always something new to discover. Beyond the campus, EduMetro at Subang Jaya is built with LRT, MRT, and BRT stations all around, making retail and leisure options conveniently accessible. Segi College Subang Jaya is where education meets inspiration and dreams become reality. Come experience the integrated town of the future and embark on a college journey like no other. Segi College Subang Jaya, your pathway to success. Welcome.
Hi. I think just now everyone can see that our new campus is coming up. I'm here would like to announce that we are having a new campus scholarship to everyone. Here I'm going to share my slide that the program we are going to offer. Hold on. One moment. Okay, it's okay. I think the screen I am unable to view to I think I am able to share some file, but it's okay. I would like to share our new scholarship new campus scholarship to everyone. It will be applied to all the new students who are interested in our diploma in business administration, creative multimedia, IT, and especially those who are joining our psychology talk today, that we are also giving a new campus scholarship to diploma in psychology student, accounting, graphic design, marketing, and early childhood education. So any one of you who are keen to apply our diploma, please apply it as soon as possible, because we are only offered 50 seats only, and the scholarship is up to 12,000. Okay, so if you are interested, please call us, call our hotline, and I'm going to share at our chat later. So if you are interested, please call us. Okay, thank you for your attention. I will pass my session to Afin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chloe.
Yeah.
All right. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge the sensitive nature of today's discussion. Our topic revolves around depression, which may include discussions about emotional struggles, personal experiences, and challenging situations. We recognize that these discussions can be triggering for some individuals, and we want to ensure that everyone feels safe and comfortable throughout our time together today. If at any point you feel that this content is overwhelming, please consider reaching out to a trusted friend, family member, or any mental health professional support. A link will be sent to you in the chat shortly for you to reach out to. Now let's dive into the purpose of our webinar. Today we are here to foster understanding, empathy, and meaningful dialogue around this critical topic. Our goal is to provide you with invaluable insights, practical strategies, and real-life scenarios to help you navigate these challenges more effectively, whether personally or when supporting others. We believe that by sharing knowledge and experiences, we can reduce stigma, promote mental health awareness, and ultimately create a more compassionate and supportive community. Throughout our webinar, we encourage active participation. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have, share your thoughts, and engage in discussions that we'll be having. Remember, your voice matters, and together we can make a positive impact. So without further ado, let's begin our journey to better understand smiling depression. Thank you for joining us today, and let's make this webinar a source of knowledge, empathy, and hope. So our first question would be to Ms. Teva. What does smiling depression mean?
Okay. Thank you so much for hosting today's webinar, and welcome to everyone here today. So without further ado, let's get into the topic of today, which is smiling depression. So your first question to me is, what is smiling depression, right? So as the name states, smiling and depression, those are two words that don't usually go together, and they don't usually exist in the same world as well. So what smiling depression in simple terms is that the fact that this individual is suffering behind the scenes, they're internally suffering through some form of depressive symptoms, or could be any other mental health conditions such as bipolar, burnout, stress, or sometimes extreme stress, anxiety, and the like. So they are going through these things, but they are masking these symptoms on the outside. So basically, they're suffering on the internal side, but on the external side, they're appearing to be okay. They're appearing to be thriving. They're appearing to be successful, right? They are doing their best to basically hide what they're going through on the inside. So this is what smiling depression, the definition of smiling depression is. But I do want to add on to that, smiling depression is not a clinical term. It is not a clinical diagnosis. So usually individuals with smiling depression, the usual diagnosis would be, any of those mood disorders and so on. And the fact that smiling depression is even more tricky and dangerous is also, something that we really need to consider. That smiling depression is not like a typical depression where the symptoms, where the behavior of the person is obvious, but this is the opposite. So they are going through some form of suffering, but what's on the outside, what you see is that this person appearing to be okay, appearing to have it together and thriving on the outside.
Thank you, Ms. Teva, for defining and highlighting the importance of smiling depression. Our next question is, why do people often hide or mask their symptoms of depression and anxiety?
Okay. Right. So as we know, right, the reason why we hide anything is usually due to the fact that there is shame involved, there is guilt involved, right? Sometimes we are in denial for the fact that this is happening to me, but I want to reject what is happening to me. So other reasons could be because they have no other choice, because they just have to continue to do what they're supposed to do because they have commitments, because they have responsibilities. They don't have the time to sit and express themselves. You know, some of them believe that, oh, if I do this, what's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my, work and all of those kind of things, right? So many of those times, those are the thought processes that usually individuals go through when they're trying to mask, when they're trying to hide these away. And also, I believe that it's also because of privacy. We don't want other people to know what's going on with us, because if other people know, it's either becomes gossip or it becomes something that people use against you. It's also, again, it goes back to the shame and guilt that you have, and the fact that you want to appear, and the fact of perfectionism where you just want to appear to be okay. You don't want to appear that there's something wrong with you or there's something broken to state of you. But when we truly dive into why people hide or mask their symptoms of depression or anxiety, is because I believe this is from the idea that a person should be okay and happy all the time. I mean, how many times have we heard that, this is perfection, this is life, this is bliss, where you want to be okay and happy all the time, right? But unfortunately, this is a very flawed perspective to life, to human condition, and to human experience. Because essentially, from a biological point of view, what we are supposed to feel is both pleasure and pain, right? I mean, we have senses, we have our nerves. We are meant to feel both. We are meant to feel pleasure. We are also meant to feel pain. Why is that so? That's because we are supposed to survive. If we don't recognize pain, if we don't recognize some form of threat, and if we don't recognize some form of these, difficult situations, we will not be able to survive. But that is from a biological point of view. But imagine this, right? Your psychological framework, your psychological play here. So imagine your body is going through something that is painful, right? But your mind is saying, oh, that's pleasurable, that's pleasurable, that's pleasurable. Does that make sense for us? It's obviously not a typical response. So whatever the body is going through, the mind has to align with it as well. Yeah. So therefore, from a psychological perspective, we want to do away, because of this idea that life has to be good and happy all the time. We have this idea that we need to push anything that is not good, anything that is negative away from us, right? So we want to remove these feelings. We don't want to attach ourselves with these types of feelings. So what we do is we try our best to remove ourselves, remove this pain, remove this challenge, right? The psychological pain that we feel. So we want to do away, right? We try to detach, we try to remove, and so on. So the more difficult it is, the more we want to push it away. So this is why at the end of the day, we start feeling the need to cover up. We start feeling the need to bottle up, right? So because we want to not be recognized as that pain that we're feeling, so we're trying to detach, we're trying to remove, we're trying to do everything that is possible to separate ourselves from this. So that's when these internal conflicts start to happen, because you're bottling them up, you are suppressing them, you're just pushing them in, and you're not dealing with them on the outside, right? You're not really doing what you're supposed to do with difficult emotions and so on. So what happens? Internal conflict starts to happen, right? So this is going to continue and continue and continue, and you are going to do more of this masking. You're going to do more of this hiding, because it's very difficult already, right? It's reaching different points. Now that's on the internal side of that person. So we can also look at this from the external environment, right? So now we've looked at the internal condition of a person. Now when we're looking at the external condition of a person, so the environment that we live in, so the people that is around us. Most of the time, people tell us, our families can tell us, get through it, you're strong, you get over it, you should be okay, you shouldn't feel this way, you should be grateful, you don't be so weak, all those kinds of things. So we hear all of these push pushing factor, these impositions, these standards, these expectations, right? So all of these things at the end of the day demands that you must be okay, that you should be okay. So when there's so much of these demands and they add on, right? So you start to feel that if I show any of these signs, any of these difficulties, any of these weaknesses, or any of these things, I will be seen as someone who is weak, someone who is unworthy, someone who is ungrateful, right? So you don't want to show, you don't have the space to show. So therefore, you start again masking, you start closing up, you start bottling everything in. So you just want to appear to be okay on the outside. Yeah. So these are the two main internal factors of that person, and also the external factors that contribute. But I want to add on to that. From my observation, I've also noticed that one more thing that I've noticed is that especially when our loved ones want to express themselves to us, right? What do you think is the first thing that we want to do for them? When our loved ones express that, hey, something is going on, everybody's guilty of this, I'm guilty of this, so we try to do the first thing that we try to do. What do you think would that be? Anybody want to judge? Okay.
Someone
Perhaps.
said listen in the chat.
Okay, right, that is good, that is a good thing. But many times what we try to do, someone said judge, I heard someone say judge. Anybody else?
Someone said listen in the chat as well.
Yeah, good. That's a good thing, right? But okay, let's get into the discussion. So apart from judging, yes, one of those things is we judge. The second thing that we try to do is that we try to increase our care and increase our love. Now listen to me first, yeah? Listen to this narrative first. The reason why we do this increase of this love and increase of this care is the idea behind it, that we try our best to fix it for other people. Right? This idea that if I do more of that, if I do more of this person will feel better, this person would, quickly recover, and so on. So there's this strong need, right? There's a strong urge to fix someone else. So it is also the reason why people suppress, because they feel pressure from this extra love, extra care, and this urge to be fixed. Yeah. So when this continuously happens, the person who is suffering from this condition feels like they're pressured to be okay. They feel that it's they need to get well so quickly, right? So because of this pressure, again, they will start to internalize these problems. They will start to retreat into themselves. So yes, we do care for our loved ones. We want to listen to them. We want to give them that ear. But when we listen, what are we also doing? This is something that we, as part of the community, as part of the society, as part of the environment, we also need to consider our actions here. So there's some things going on within that person that is making them want to hide. Obviously, there's this external element that is also making them want to continuously push down these negative feelings, these negative thoughts that they're having. Also, the fact that it's difficult for the loved ones to accept what the person is going through. So they try their best. They do whatever it is to help them heal, right? They do all those kind of things, which can become counterproductive sometimes. So these are some of the things that we need to be mindful about, because I believe that sometimes with our loved ones, we can become so impatiently solution focused. We fail to recognize that the suffering that you're going through isn't superficial. It's not just like you have flu and then you take a pill and then you're better the next day. It's not something like that. So it's more of a complex process. There's a lot of layers that we need to address here. So giving them specific type of help, and which we will talk into in much later on. So we need to be aware of what we are also doing, and also recognizing what the person is also doing to themselves. This is one of the few factors that has continued to make them want to hide or want to mask their symptoms. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Teba, for explaining how a lot of variables, both internal and external, takes a lot of place when it comes to masking our symptoms. Our next question is, what are some of the common symptoms of this condition known as smiling depression that individuals might experience?
Okay, right. Usually the conditions are similar to typical depression. Only the difference is that what's atypical about smiling depression is that the person is masking, right? But what the person, the sufferer, goes through would be internally, they would be experiencing overwhelming negative feelings, especially sadness and hopelessness. This is not a simple type of sadness, right? But this sadness is prolonged. It just stays with you. It doesn't seem to have any reason or trigger sometimes. Yeah. So there's this overwhelming sadness of hopelessness where they don't see the point, they don't see a light, they don't see a reason, right? They don't see meaning, all those kinds of things. And then there could be a lack of self-confidence, or even they may feel like they have low self-worth, that like they're not worthy of anything, they're not worthy of this life, those kinds of situations. They may experience mood swings, so there will be fluctuations. Usually with depression, usually with sadness, low moods, as well as some form of elations. They can go in and out of these moods that they are feeling. Yeah, and then there's anxiety symptoms such as over worrying, excessive worrying, a lot of fear, a lot of insecurities, right? So that would indicate anxiety, and also overthinking. So those things that they are dealing with. They may also be going through some form of difficulty in terms of concentrating. It could be work, it could be education, it could be anything that they're doing. So whatever that they used to do day to day, everything, they feel like they cannot focus as much, right? And they have these overwhelming thoughts. So that's why it's difficult for them to bring their concentration to it. And how they used to enjoy the activities before, before they started to feel this way, the suffering started to happen. So they don't enjoy as much as they do anymore, right? So they feel like a lot of disinterest, lack of energy. So those things can be seen and they can be felt by the person that is suffering. Of course, on top of that, what they're also experiencing would be suicidal thoughts. They will be thinking a lot about living and dying, right? The push and pull effect, the pros and cons of this, and so on. Because obviously, with death, the thought is that everything ends, the pain is ending, suffering is ending. So that is the kind of thought processes that they will be having. So another thing that I wanted to add also about smiling depression is that it's also tricky, because it's not like the typical depressive symptoms where you can see a person behaving a certain way, but it is also dangerous because these individuals seem okay on the outside, but they're brewing and they're fighting this suicidal thoughts as well on the inside. So there's this push and pull effect that's going on within them as well. So that's why it's also dangerous for individuals who go through smiling depression. Yeah. And on a behavioral level, what you can observe in terms of their behavior is that they may be sleeping too much or sleeping too little, or difficulties staying asleep. Yeah. So they will be having difficulty in managing their sleep time. There may be changes in appetite. Right? There may be changes in weight. They may have bodily sensations, physical sensations, where they may have some form of pain here and there, numbness or heaviness in certain parts of their body. So they may have headaches, maybe increased irritability, increased restlessness, and they may not take criticisms or rejections very well. They have very extreme reactions to such criticisms and rejections usually. And another thing that we want to watch out for is their behavior with substances, which is alcohol use, drug use, or even household medication that we have. So how they are utilizing, how they are consuming those medication as well. So alcohol, drugs, other kinds of drugs, obviously, and medication. Yeah, so these would be some of the symptoms, common symptoms surrounding smiling depression.
From your explanation, we understand how smiling depression is different from depression itself, and the symptoms that one would experience with smiling depression.
Mhm.
Our next question is, what are some of the examples of unhelpful behaviors associated with these conditions, and why are they problematic? So one of them was, you just mentioned, the substance taking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So for the sufferers, right, what would be the unhelpful behaviors that would be first and foremost is to It's very difficult. Again, we're not saying that just don't do this and you'll be okay. We're not saying that. I'm just highlighting that these are the things that you should be aware of, right? You should be aware of, and you should not continue to do as much as you can. So the first things for sufferers is about feeling ashamed and guilty, right? So this is something that is very difficult to overcome for these individuals, but acknowledging and recognizing and identifying that this is actually a symptom of what you're going through is very important. So feeling ashamed and guilty is not something you should feel while you're suffering through this, because nobody asked for this, right? Nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to be in a difficult situation. Nobody wants to have mental conditions and so on. Nobody wants to go through that. So there is no reason you need to be ashamed and guilty about this, because if you continue to brew in those feelings, those emotions will take over and they take control. Because again, our cognitions, which are our thought processes, our emotions, and our behaviors, they are all interacting with each other. They are all interconnected with each other. So therefore, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about yourself is going to affect how you think about yourself. And how you think about yourself and how you feel about yourself is going to affect how you behave about yourself, how you behave towards yourself. So if you allow these emotions to take control, they will make it worse. They will, drag you down to the depths of despair. They will continue. If again, I'm saying, if there is no intervention and if there is no treatment processes, if you're not seeking help. So if this continues to happen, definitely it's going to make the condition worse. The next thing is to not for you to not generalize or minimize your own condition, your own suffering, because of responsibilities, because of so many other things, because of expectations. What you tend to do is that, oh, it's not important, it's not priority, other people are suffering too. You tend to do these kinds of things. You tend to minimize, you tend to generalize your own suffering. At the end of the day, to each his own. We are all living in a situation, we're all living in conditions that sometimes does not work for us, that sometimes is not helpful for us. So it is your right, your right to be able to recognize that you are suffering. It's your right to do so, right? Because if you don't recognize it, basically what you're telling yourself is that I'm not worth it. I'm not worth of the help. I'm not worth of the assistance. I'm not worth acknowledging that I have problems, right? So you're telling yourself these things. You're also telling other people that I'm okay. I don't need any help. I'm self-sufficient. You're giving all these kinds of thought processes. So you don't want to do that at the end of the day, because this is not something that you want to deal with alone, and you need support, you need help to be able to come out of it. Otherwise, if you're continuously generalizing and minimizing, it's going to make the condition worse as well. The other unhelpful behaviors that I have noticed also is that believing that masking or hiding will not make you feel as bad, right? Hiding or suppressing it, or using other alternatives to alleviate the symptoms that you're going through with your suffering is going to help you heal, for example, right? It's not going to help you heal, because it's not the correct kind of support that you need. It may feel good for a while, it may help you a little bit now and then, momentarily, but you are going to fall back into that suffering. So masking, hiding, suppressing, avoiding, all of that is going to also make it worse. And the other thing is that thinking that prayer or time or just thinking positively is going to heal it. All of that is good. At the end of the day, prayer is good for you. Definitely thinking positive is good for you, surely. But to what extent, right? Again, this is a type of avoidance behavior. We don't want to just bank in on something and say, oh, if I continue to pray, if I continue to think positive, I will be okay. No, you will not be okay if you're just going to do that. Yeah, you need psychological support. You are basically, again, avoiding you're avoiding the symptoms, and you're avoiding the help that you're supposed to get for the conditions, for the suffering that you're going through. And the other one that I would say is that some people, right, they think that, oh, this is all just stress, this is all just extra energy, and if I exercise and if I live a healthy lifestyle, it should be okay. Not necessary. Again, exercise is definitely good for you, but exercise alone is not going to be enough again. These are also other avoidance strategies sometimes. So you're putting all your energy, make yourself tired, so that you don't have to think about it. Think about the problems, think about the psychological problems that you have. So a lot of people have avoiding techniques that they do, such as this, and that eventually just digs the hole deeper and eventually makes it worse. Okay, so those are some unhelpful behaviors for the person itself, but I would also want to give you perspective for other people who are dealing with individuals suffering from this too. So what the other people are doing for those, in relation to those who are suffering, they're also not helpful. In what way, right? We need to know how we can be more helpful for these individuals at the end of the day. So for the others, right, the loved ones and so on, what you can do, what you should not be doing is that to create an unsafe environment for them to express themselves, right? So you're judging, like some of you have mentioned, you're judging or you're smothering. Those are the things that we don't want to do. Or you are pressuring them, where you want them to get better soon, very quickly, fast, looking for all the different ways. So all those kind of things, judging, dismissing them, all those kinds of negative behaviors that is not helping, that is counterproductive for these individuals as well. And then, of course, we are pushing for perfection and keeping high standards with others all the time. That means to say that they are not supposed to make any mistakes. We hold that over their head for the rest of their life, things like that. And then we remind them of all their mistakes that they have done. So consistently pushing for perfection and keeping high standards, that's going to break someone eventually. So we need to be mindful of that. And of course, the other one that I mentioned earlier was about fixing the person. Yes, caring and loving is important, but you need to recognize the boundaries as well, because everybody has their space, everybody has their limitations. So you don't want to be crossing boundary where right now what you're doing, the love and care is becoming an imposition. So that's what you want to avoid as well. So yeah, so that would be some of the perspectives in regards to unhelpful behaviors and why they're going to be problematic.
We're having a lot of amazing comments. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Teva, for highlighting how important it is to acknowledge, identify, and recognize their own symptoms, as well as not to generalize or mask their own symptoms.
Yeah.
Our next question is, can you provide some scenarios where it might be challenging to address someone's mental health, and how can we approach these situations? And after this, I would like to share some of the other scenarios that everyone else can answer as well.
Okay. So basically some scenarios about, how we can approach, is that the question? How we can approach individuals about their mental health?
Yes, miss.
Okay, right. So basically, okay, I'm going to do a should not do and should do situation again. So what you should not do is basically accuse them, blame them for being a certain way, comment on their behavior, like, oh, you're lazy, you're this, you're that, so negatively approaching them with the situation that they're in. Don't tell them to think positively, just think positive only. It doesn't work that way, right? That is toxic positivity. There's a term for it on its own. Don't tell them to buckle up and be strong anyway. They've been strong so much already, right? They are trying, they're struggling to be strong, and then you're pushing for them to be even more strong. Where are they going to find the strength? Where are they going to find the light at the end of the tunnel? If you're overexerting yourself, right? So telling them to, again, pray more, be more active, or the worst thing that you can do for a person is also to create a surprise intervention. Do not do that. Okay, that is going to be very shocking for the person, where one person tells the entire family member, and the entire family is having a family meeting to now bombard the person. Oh, what went wrong? What happened? Tell us, we can help you. Those kinds of things. Friends also, right? Partners also. You don't want to create a surprise intervention. You want to ease into the process of recovery. You want to ease into the process of treatment, right? You have to start the conversation. What you should do now You have to start the conversation delicately with them, set aside good enough time in a private space, convenient for the both of you, away from disruptions, away from interruptions. So make sure they are ready to talk about it, right? Make sure that they are able to talk about it, because it's not just them at the end of the day, it's also the person that's listening to them. We need to be ready to listen to them, because we may take things personally, right? We are human at the end of the day. We may take some of these things personally, especially if it's a partner or if it's a friend or anything like that. They were talking about certain things, and you are thinking that, oh, am I the one causing this? Are you saying that I'm doing this to you? You know, we might be thinking about things from different points of view. So that's why we need to be very mindful. It's very tricky. It's very difficult, but we need to set aside our own emotions and just to listen to their side. So we need to be able to do that. We need to come to terms that these individuals are, challenged emotionally at this point of time, challenged cognitively. They're going through some form of difficulty and struggles. So we need to be able to acknowledge that and tell them that, look, whatever it is, I'm not going to be here to judge you. I'm not going to be here to pick on you or scrutinize what you're saying. I'm not going to take this now and then come back at you with it later. So those are the things that we really don't want to do. So you want to be genuinely there to listen for them. Yeah. Second thing that you want to be able to do for these individuals is that be consistent about your interest in their mental health. It's not like today, hey, how are you? Then tomorrow, no sound. The next day, no sound. You know, you want to be consistently interested. I mean, if you're genuinely interested, you would be consistent about it, but not about consistently pushing, be pushy and so on, but consistently checking in about, hey, how are things going on with you? Do you need anything today? You know, are you ready to talk about it right now? Things like that, right? So you're asking a lot more and ask them, what can I do for you today? Instead of you prescribing what you are going to do for them, let them tell you what they need from you. Sometimes that's the best way. And let them tell you what they need. But if you see that this person is just shying away and just hiding away in their cave way too much, then perhaps you need to be a little bit more assertive, put your foot down a little bit more. But again, you have to see the situations and context here. Yeah. So another thing is that the genuine interest. So like I said just now, they may have reactions where it might be difficult for you as well. They may be harsh, they may be sarcastic, or they may be saying certain things that is making you uncomfortable. But remember that it's not because of you, it's not for you. It's because they are going through their own situation and they are disappointed with themselves, they are angry with themselves, all of that is happening about themselves inside their mind. So that all that is sometimes projected out onto you. So it's not personal, it's not against you. So things that we need to remember when we address this with our loved ones at the end of the day, right? So of course, there is no judgments, no impositions. Allow them to talk and express freely. Don't take it personally. Affirm them that you care and keep things confidential as much as you can, unless otherwise it is necessary for you to involve relevant people in that situation, right? So they're telling you because they trust you. So they expect you to keep it confidential. They expect you to respect them, right? So what you need to do is make sure that you don't go and tell another friend, or you don't go and tell another sibling, or you don't go tell a parent, for example, right? And they expect some form of privacy still. But if you feel that you cannot help them, that you don't have the capacity or the resources to help them, you can always tell them that, hey, look, I'm listening to you, I'm here for you, but I really don't know what to do. Do you think it'll be okay for me to check in with somebody else? I won't tell it's you, but I need to figure out, I need to get information. So is it okay if I check in with professionals and things like that? So you can always be forthcoming with them. Tell them your true intentions. Like I said, genuine care will work, definitely will go on. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Teva, for highlighting how important it is for us to be very supportive towards others. Now I'll share a link in the Zoom chat so that everyone can access the scenarios that I was talking about, and I'll share screen as well so that the ones who are on Facebook, they can see the questions too. Okay, here are some of the scenarios that we have. I hope everyone can access the link that I have sent. Okay, so next question is this. Once everyone is done, can everyone give me a thumbs up so that I can share the results? Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you are done? You can do a reaction thumbs up. Okay, I'll share the results. Okay, Ms. Tava, would you like to go through the responses?
Can, but it's not very clear to me, the screen. So which one is the first question? I think I'll just use the link and go.
Right, okay, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is about, oh, hold on, it's loading. It says it's closed. I'm sorry, can't seem to access it.
Could you open the one from the chat?
Yeah. Oh, the one here. Okay.
Yes.
Hold on. Go. Okay. Oh, it says it's closed again. Not sure why. Sorry.
That's okay. Not sure.
You can go back to your screen and share the questions again, like just now,
Yes.
instead of the results. Yeah. The link earlier was meant to be interactive, but I think it's closed now.
Can you see my screen?
It's loading.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question would be, how would you initiate a conversation with your anxious colleague to offer support at work without making them uncomfortable? So I believe the answer would be B, right? Invite them for a casual coffee break and gently ask how they've been doing, how they've been feeling, right? But I also think C is not a wrong answer too. You can send them an email if let's say you don't want to confront them face to face, if you don't know how they will react. So it's okay to send an email as well, right? So B and C, I would think it's a good answer. Yeah.
I'll move to the next one.
Right. So the next question that we've asked you guys is that how would you approach a family member exhibiting depressive symptoms during a family gathering to inquire about their well-being in a caring and non-judgmental way? So obviously it's A, bring up the topic privately away from the family gathering. You can do B, but really depends on context, depends on situation. But of course, again, in a more private manner. Yeah, definitely. I hope you guys have been answering them as how we have discussed. Yeah. How would you engage in a constructive conversation to challenge stigmatizing comments about mental health conditions and promote understanding when you overhear them? So would you confront a person making the comments directly and explain why they're harmful? So this is possible. You can confront, but obviously you confront them not in an aggressive way, right? You can educate them. Usually what we try to do is that we try to correct the behavior right there and there because they recognize the importance of how harmful that they can be, right? You can also try to talk to them privately so that they can avoid the embarrassment for themselves, and so on. So it's either A or C here, but you can also go for B. Yeah.
The last one.
Yeah. The last one. Okay, so when discussing mental health in cultures where it's considered taboo, how can you navigate cultural barriers with sensitivity and respect? This is a good question. Obviously, sometimes, we have different understanding of what mental health is and different ways of dealing with it and even coping with it. So therefore, we need to be able to still discuss mental health because it's still important, but we still need to give respect to their cultural beliefs and so on. But of course, find common ground by discussing well-being and stress in general terms to initiate the conversation, right? And also we have to educate them about the importance of mental health while respecting their culture. So yeah, and D is also a very good technique. D is also a very good strategy where you can encourage. So again, you cannot just boom, here it is, and you have to follow this. You can't do that with anybody for that matter, with different cultures especially. You need to make sure that this is integrated and becomes part of their culture as well. So we want to look for ways to encourage them. We want to look for common ground, and we want to see if there are some methods within the cultures that can be helpful for them as well. So we can assimilate with psychological support. Yeah. Thank you, Afrin.
Now we have two true and false questions.
So we're continuing with the quiz.
Yeah, we just have one more left. Ms. Taba, would you like to discuss?
Sure. Right. So mental health conditions are solely a result of personal weakness or character flaws. What do you guys think? Is it a yes or no? Solely a result of personal weaknesses or character flaws? Okay, a big no from Elaine. Okay, right? Hey, right, definitely a big no here. Yeah, because it's not a weakness, it's not a character flaw. It is something that happens to you, just like a virus or a flu, it can happen to you, right? So there are conditions, there are situations that continue to happen. No, it is not a personal weakness or a character flaw, Miss Esther Francis. It is definitely not. Yeah. It is definitely not, because if you say that, then it means that mental health conditions would be something that is innate, something that is something that is person to person, right? So in the sense that it is because of their behavior, because of that. It is actually not because of a weakness. It is not because of your character. It is because of coping. It is how an individual copes with situations, trauma, all those kinds of things. How they cope has brought about those conditions. Okay, right, all right. Yeah, well, if you have a narcissistic partner, of course, you're going to be very confused with regards to your own self-concept. So definitely that's going to take a while for you to, work through this and be aware that you separate the notion that has been put in your mind so that you recognize that, this is not a character flaw. This is not a personality issue here, right? This is not a character issue or a weakness here. Okay, that's very important for you to seek help there. Right, and the last one, mental health conditions are lifelong conditions with no possibility of recovery. What do you guys think? There is no recovery for mental health conditions? What's the answer here? Yes, we can recover, right? The answer is with treatment, with consistent treatment, with the right treatment, you will be able to recover and manage the symptoms. You can have a fulfilling life. You can be able to, go back to your usual self as much as you can. But most importantly is that there's consistency in how you are practicing your interventions. There's consistency in terms of seeking treatment, right? And you need to know the right kind of treatment that works for you. You need to be able to identify that. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Afrin. I think that's all the quiz that we have.
Yeah, that's all the quiz that we have.
Okay.
Now we'll proceed to our next question.
Okay, so we have a few more questions left. Okay.
What are some reasons why individuals may continue to use unhelpful coping mechanisms even when they recognize their negative impact?
Okay, one of the main things I would say is due to definitely shame and guilt, that the notion of you not being okay is not accepted, right? Not acceptable, not reasonable. So mostly due to shame and guilt, obviously stigma that is surrounding mental health issues and so on. The other concerns that I have is also, from my observation, from my experience, is also accessibility to help, accessibility to psychological help and so on. There's a long waiting list, there's an overwhelming number of patients sometimes. Everything is very far and it's outside of your working hours, and it's difficult to go within your working hours and so on. So basically not conducive conditions in seeking help, right? Price, location, accessibility, availability. Those are also one of the reasons why people go back to doing what they are thinking that is helpful, right? In terms of the coping. And other things could be because of the mentality of no room for weakness, no room for failures, and so on. So they continue to just grind and grind and grind. And I also find that there are individuals where they feel that if they open up about these things, they will have missed opportunities in terms of their academic opportunities or career opportunities, because a lot of times, of course, institutions or organizations are not very open about their policies surrounding mental health situations and so on, right? So because of that, they may feel like they have the need to continue to mask and continue to, hide and so on. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Teva. Our next question is, what are some of the effective coping strategies for depression and anxiety?
Okay, first and foremost, don't blame yourself. It's not something, again, like I said earlier, it's not something that you wanted, right? Nobody wants to go through this. So don't blame yourself, although it's very easy to do that in these situations. Don't blame yourself. Don't treat yourself badly for having this condition, because again, if the more you do that to yourself, the more you internalize the shame, the guilt, the negative thought processes, the negative views that you have about yourself, the more you're doing that, you're basically reinforcing the idea that you're not worth it, that you're just broken, that you cannot get better, and so on. So don't blame, don't internalize, don't absorb everything internally, right? So you don't want to do that to yourself. Second thing, do not isolate yourself, and make sure that you maintain contact with your trusted social circle, your trusted social support. Identify someone, at least a person that you can sort this type of support, right? Anytime you need, you identify that. We've also put in a link where you can have external resources for support. I think Afrin did put the resources earlier, so we can put it again later. So you have, you can copy paste the link and keep it, or you can send it to those who need it, just in case we need to have some kind of external support sometimes if we don't have anybody close by, right? And of course, most importantly, don't ignore the signs and the symptoms. Early detection is very important, right? If you're starting to feel a certain way, if you're starting to notice certain changes in yourself, in your thought processes and so on, in your behaviors. So it's good that you notice these things, identify these things, and check yourself out with a professional, right? Check yourself out with a professional. One of the things that you shouldn't do is go online, go onto TikTok, listen to those kinds of information, because those are not going to be helpful. So you want legitimate information, right? You want legitimate information. So check with a professional, access, proper medical journals or psychological journals and so on, and read from those reliable sources. And of course, with early detection means early intervention. So you're catching it and you're managing it earlier. So it's going to be much, much more manageable for you, right? And what you should do more is obviously educate yourself, If let's say you have found that you are suffering from this, educate yourself in the right way, right? Seek professional help, seek verified medium, psychologist or psychiatrist, whichever that you may need. So please look for those professional assistance, right? Confide in someone you can trust, family members or friends or teachers, or your institutions. If you are students, your institutions will have counselors, right? If you're working adults, there may be an employee assistance programs in your office, right, as part of your benefit. So maybe you can access psychological support through those employee assistance programs that you have, right? Not every company has it, but some companies have it. Or again, look for someone that you can trust, and from there you can explore your resources and so on. Just remember, there is no shame in asking for help. We all need help. Even myself as a professional, we all have our bad days and we need to ask for help sometimes too, right? We all have our days, bad days, good days. So no shame in asking for help at all. Another thing that is helpful is lifestyle management. You need to check in with your eating habits. Make sure that you have proper food intake. Because imagine that you're feeling low at this level, and if you're not eating for that day, if you're putting away food, and if you're just not eating, basically, you're just living off water or something, your energy levels are going to go down, and you're going to feel much worse off. Yeah, you're going to feel much worse off. If you're eating and fueling, right, you're using all this energy at the end of the day. If you're eating and fueling, you may maintain that levels or even improve those levels a little bit. Yeah, so you need to make sure that your eating habits, even if you don't like it, if you don't feel like it, eat something nutritional, something that can help you keep you full and so on, right? Something that can replenish the energy. The next thing that you need to check in is with your sleeping habits. How good quality is your sleep, right? It's very important. You need to think about activities. You need to indulge in activities that can help you, although you don't feel like it, right? You need to create a good routine for yourself, because you need to regulate the stress. So you are going to need to do activities such as exercise or going out, taking a walk in the park and things like that. Some form of activity is going to be helpful, right? It's a start of something at least, right? So be aware of your alcohol and other substance use. If you can avoid it, especially if you're having low moods and so on, avoid alcohol, because we don't want that to lead to another problem, because easily you can use that as a coping and that becomes addiction. So we don't want to go in that route as well. So again, good routines to help you move from day to day, right? Whatever day-to-day itineraries that you have, routines help you feel productive. Routines help you move along the day. It's difficult to combat the emotional challenges that come with it, but with proper management, with proper intervention, you'll be able to overcome them slowly, definitely, surely, slowly but surely, right? And finally, I think community education is very important. So, webinars like this and other kinds of talks and sharing sessions and so on is helpful, so that many of us, not just the people affected by it, but people who don't know, who've never gone through it, right? They can learn and be more well informed about the situations, and also maybe change our behaviors in regards to situations like this. So that would be my recommendation for coping. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Teva, for giving us some effective strategies. And I hope we can all take something from here and apply it in our lives and others' lives as well and make a difference. Our next question is, what are some practical steps that individuals and society as a whole can take to address and reduce the shame and stigma associated with mental health disorders?
Okay, right. For stigma, one thing I think is changing is definitely the stigma around mental health, especially after celebrities start talking about it, right? So because now celebrities are involved, we have a better access, better knowledge about mental health and psychological well-being and so on. But most importantly, putting celebrities aside, we need to learn for ourselves. We need to educate ourselves. So getting to know before rejecting these conditions, right? Before comparing your situation to other people's situations. So educating ourselves is very, very important, because mental health issues can last a lifetime, and it can be dangerous if it's not intervened and treated accordingly. right? Definitely don't promote toxic positivity. Don't promote think positive all the time, always focusing on the bright side, because then you're not leaving room for people to feel the negative emotions. We need to be okay with having negative emotions, because negative emotions are not destructive. What we do with negative emotions are actually destructive. So that's the difference between emotions and behaviors at the end of the day, right? So we need to learn to regulate our emotions. We need to learn to recognize, understand what's going on with us, what's going on internally. So those things are going to be important. So basically going back to education and so on. Of course, education, when we talk about education, we need to start this education at home, and we need to start this education early into childhood so that we create better humans, healthier humans as they're growing older, right? Because mental health has lifelong impacts, and parents need to know how to handle their own mental health issues before, it'll be good before, but if you're struggling with your own mental health issues, if you're struggling with your own issues, it's good that you recognize how you're dealing with your issues. It's just as important as how you manage your finances. So it's all critical there. Yeah, that's definitely true. And another thing, I think another aspect of destigmatizing and what society can do, I think we need to involve our government more in situations like this, because a lot of information nowadays are presented by NGOs, by private bodies and so on. But I think, of course, the government is also doing something about this, but I think we can give more emphasis. The government can give more emphasis, better allocations, develop better policies surrounding mental health, and accessibility for resources, for treatment processes, and so on. I think we still lack in that department. I think we can do so much more so that, we create a healthier society and not just, having those individuals with the money to be able to access it. So we want everybody to be able to access it from all levels of society. Because other conditions can also lead to depression and so on, like poverty and all of that. So we want everybody to be able to have access. So that is the ultimate goal. And our NGOs are doing as much as they can already. So government here needs to come in and do a little bit more, right? Definitely do a little bit more so that we have better policies surrounding mental health. I also think that workspaces, offices, organizations, they also need to assess and implement as well as maintain healthy work environments, because majority of burnout happens because of work conditions and cultures. So we need to also keep that in mind. It's not just the individual at the end of the day. The individual can only do so much, but the environment has a major impact as well. So we need to work together, the individual as well as the environment. So together we need to be able to move from the stigma and create better spaces and create better environments for each and every one of us. So that will be my suggestions, but let's hope for the best. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Teba. Before we proceed to the last question, there's a lot of comments that's saying how they have difficulty finding a proper psychologist because a lot of the psychologists that they have been going to were very dismissive of their conditions. Is there anything you could say regarding this?
Mhm. I'm sorry, Efren, could you repeat that?
A lot of
Mhm.
a lot of our participants, they have going to several therapists so far,
Right.
and
Mhm.
most of them were very dismissive of their conditions.
Okay, right. So my comment about this, right? So if a therapist is being dismissive, is not listening to you, is not, acknowledging your situation and so on, they should at least give you the time and space to hear you out first, right? So this is something that is the process of therapy. And sometimes it's also where you need to find a fit. It's not immediately that you would find the first therapist to be fitting with your criteria and the comfortability level and so on. So a lot of these things at the end of the day. So if the person that you're seeking help with, the profession that you're seeking help with is not as helpful as you thought it was, you can always seek recommendations from NGOs If you have the means, obviously look for those outside. You can look for those outside of your institutions, obviously. And sometimes it might take a while until you find the right fit. Unfortunately, yeah, it is a process. Sometimes it might take a while until you find the right fit. So if that person is not giving you the right kind of support, you have the right, as a client, you have the right to tell them that, hey, look, I came to you for this, but doesn't seem like I'm being heard, doesn't seem like, I'm being actually addressed here because I feel this way. So at the end of the day, the clients do have the right to share their experience to the counselors, to the therapists as feedback, right? Because they need to know what's happening with the clients at the end of the day. So therefore, it's very important that the client feels comfortable enough to share these things with the therapist. But if the therapist is not working out for you, I would definitely encourage you to look for a different therapist. And I hope it's not, I can only hope that this doesn't become a problem and so on. So having said that, if this is going to be an issue amongst our community members where therapists are not doing their job, then we need better regulations, or clients need to know their rights and so on, where, we can give feedback to the government and so on, so that you have, because at the end of the day, therapists are regulated, as in counselors are regulated by specific bodies. You can always give feedback and say that, hey, look, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, but this didn't match and so on. But like I said, there is going to be different situations where there might be mismatch between the therapist and yourself, which is common, but you need to seek out different therapists in that situation. But if the therapist is dismissive, therapist is not caring, doesn't showcase care, you have the right to address that with the therapist, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that helps to clarify. But yeah, I'm very sorry that you had to go through, difficult therapist or uncaring therapist with your situation and, your conditions and so on.
Thank you, Ms. Teba. Now, I would like to ask you the last question from this webinar. What are the key takeaways or messages you would like our participants to leave with from this webinar?
Well, the first thing that I would say is that take care of yourself first. It can sound selfish, but this is very crucial. Take care of yourself for yourself first, because especially psychologically, right? You need to take care of your mind. It's not selfish because this is very critical in your livelihood, right? If you take care of yourself, it is also the greatest gift that you can give your loved ones. So if you take care of yourself, it's good for you in the long run. It's important, it's critical that you have a sound mind for yourself at the end of the day, right? So most important is to take care of yourself for yourself first. Second thing is that mental health issues are treatable and that they are manageable with the right kind of support. That's why I also continue to say the right kind of support. So it doesn't mean you have to stick with your therapist that you don't feel comfortable with. You don't have to. Yeah, you can terminate and you can figure someone else out that is going to be helpful. And there are many therapists out there that are equally helpful. That they're going to be able to assist you through that process. But sometimes, like I said, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's a little bit of tango until you meet the right one. Sometimes, yeah. So mental health issues are treatable, they are manageable, but you need to be able to get the right kind of support. And there is no shame in getting the support and dealing with mental health issues. And the last thing that I want to say is that at the end of the day, we need to give ourselves the opportunity to heal, right? The opportunity to seek help. That is very, very important, because we think that we don't deserve, we think that we're not worth it, we think that our life is nothing and so on. So we really need to think about it in this way. We need to give ourselves the opportunity to heal and help ourselves, because it should come from ourselves. We should believe that we are worth it, right? We should believe that we deserve the beautiful life just as anyone else. So we really need to think about it from this point of view, where you are the one giving yourself the choice to heal and help yourself, because many times we feel that we don't have choice, and it's important that we recognize that we have choices.
Thank you so much, Ms. Taba, for this webinar today, and thank you to everyone who has come today to join us. Before we end, I would like to ask everyone to have a photo together. So if everyone could turn on their camera. Okay, 3, 2, 1, everyone smile. Right, Ms. Jacqueline, are we done?
Yes, okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. Ms. Ho, would you like to say anything?
Sorry.
Would you like to say anything before we end?
Right. So thank you so much to everyone that participated and waited so long until the talk ended today. I hope this has been helpful. But I also I was just looking through some of the comments just now. I believe that it's very difficult to get a match sometimes, but there are still true therapists out there, helpful therapists out there, and I hope you find them, right? I hope you find them. And like I said, remember, you as a client, you have a right. You have a right to express if you feel uncomfortable in sessions and that you are not given that ear, right? So hopefully we are able to reach there. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.